I don't, this relationship between Israel and Turkey have existed and will continue to exist, have been existing in 60 years, for 60 years, with little bit, with some ups and downs. And there's a reason why this relationship have lasted as long, because both nations, and I know this for certain in talking to a top Israeli official, a Turkish official as well, no one, I have found no one, neither on the side of the Israelis or the side of the Turks, who are saying, oh, this relationship is, we can take it or leave it. Both sides insist that this is the most important relationship, bilateral relation between the two countries, and it must be sustained and maintained because it is critical, as I said before, to regional stability. Bad relationship between Turkey and Israel will not help the peace process between Israel and the Arab world. Bad relationship between the two countries will not advance the situation economically, and there will be no limited economic progress on a regional basis. Bad relation between the two countries will heighten and further heighten the tension throughout the Middle East, and that's not going to serve anyone's interest. And both countries know this only too well.
According to the recent evaluations, they said that Turkey, just not a mediator between Israel and Syria, but rather Turkey needs another mediator between Turkey and Israel. Do you think that Turkey and Israel needs a mediator?
I don't think Israel and Syria, you need anybody to come in the middle and mediate. Tomorrow, the defense minister of Israel is coming here. And I believe that we have every reason to believe that the relationship between the two countries will be mended and gradually will go back to the way it used to be because of the indispensability of the strategic importance to each other. And so you don't need mediation. What you need is common sense on both sides to make sure that there will be no such a rift or flare-up again. Before I answer this question, Prime Minister Erdogan visited Washington, and in his conversation with the President of the United States, Obama, President Obama talked about two important points, and one was he suggested and urged Prime Minister Erdogan to improve the relationship with the State of Israel as soon as possible, because the United States feel that strong allies between Israel and Turkey is critically important to the region. And that's number one. That is emotional reaction to events, sometimes maybe justified, but in the end, reason must prevail. Specifically because of the importance of the bilateral relations between the two nations. That's number one. The second thing, a mistake by one side should not necessarily generate a mistake on the other side. Exactly what happened in the last rift a few days ago. Although Israel was probably provoked by what the Prime Minister have said, but as I said earlier, there is no justification for this kind of tit-for-tat. That was a terrible mistake on the part of Deputy Foreign Minister Alon and the way he treated the Turkish ambassador. The third thing, although there are many individuals and some states who would like to see a rift between Israel and Turkey, the truth of the matter is that both nations, if there is such a tendency to not to reconcile, it will be to their terrible disadvantage. That is, I advise to the extent I can, I would say openly to both sides, every effort must be made to reconcile the differences, because both nations, as I said so many times already on this program, hold the key to future stability of the Middle East. Number four, we must now, that is Israel as well as Turkey, must now make every effort not to open up old wounds and begin to mend the relationship. Israel can re-invite Turkey to mediate between Israel and Turkey. This will be a good step in the right direction. And perhaps this should follow, and this is what I'd like to say publicly, should follow perhaps by a visit of the presidents of Israel and the president of Turkey, to demonstrate that in the final analysis the relationship is solid, and because it is critically important, as I said earlier, to everyone involved. And just finally, one more other point. Now that we expect Defense Minister Ehud Barak to come in tomorrow, I hope that this will be the beginning of rebuilding the relationship between the two nations, because the cooperation on economic level, strategic level, military level, intelligence level between the two countries is very significant and ought to continue. And I hope and pray that this will be the trend in the future, that both countries can restore the very important relations between the two nations.